holiday scams. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of Rural America Live with AARP, and to our listeners joining us on Rural Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 147. I'm Marlon Bowling. I'm sitting in for Mark Oppold tonight. It's hard to believe the holidays are almost here already, and that means more people will be heading to the mall and shopping online. And guess what? Scammers know that you're looking for the best deal, and they're waiting for you too. They want you to click that link. They want you to answer your phone or send a text so they can get your personal information or make you spend money on imaginary gifts, among other things. Well, according to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, there are well over 260,000 consumer complaints in 2013, and that amounted to a total loss, get this, of over $780 million. And that's only what was reported. Well, joining me tonight with some new information on cybercrime and other unscrupulous dirty deeds that fraudsters are engaging in are my friends from AARP. First, we have Sarah Jennings, AARP State Director for South Dakota, and Sean Voskuhl, AARP State Director for Oklahoma. And we want you to join the conversation too. Now, here's our question of the month that we want to know. What scams are making the rounds in your neck of the woods? And we're also giving away AARP's Real Pad to 3 lucky callers tonight. So if you're caller 4, 7, or 11, you'll win one of these AARP Real Pads. How about that? You don't need to be over 50 or an AARP member to win. And we need to remind folks that you can only win once per calendar year. Well, we want to hear from you. Give us a call toll free at 877-283-7570 and join the conversation. All right. Well, Sarah, welcome to our new studios. I understand this is your first time here. What do you think?
It is. It's fantastic. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, this is an awesome place. Anyway, it's really neat to have you here. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting with us tonight. We really appreciate you stepping in.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I was looking forward to it, and I love this topic too, by the way. This is an excellent topic, very timely for this time of year. And in fact, my family has been affected by this twice already.
Right?
So yeah, very good topic, you bet. Well, I mentioned the latest FBI numbers on the amount of money that's lost to cybercrime, and that's only what's been reported. I want to remind you of that. That's an astronomical number, isn't it?
It really is, and I think the thing is that anymore, just as you said, your family's been scammed, and or people or scammers have tried to scam you, and so sometimes you know, and almost all of us have an instance, whether it was online or the phone or somebody knocking at your door with a service. And so I think with the holidays coming up, what we want to talk about tonight, and what we do want to hear from people all over the country, is really telling us what scams are going on in your neighborhood, or that you've heard about, maybe what's happened to you. So please do give us a call, because anymore the cons are getting even more creative. The scams can range from something very simple to something really complex, where they can actually put malware onto your computer and things like that. So we want to cover as many of those tonight and talk about ways we can all protect ourselves and our families as we get through this evening. But really the best part of this conversation is always hearing from people from across the country. Oh, absolutely.
We look forward to hearing from them, you bet. Well, I know credit card companies are taking steps to protect consumers, and I wondered if you could maybe share us about some of the new technology that's being used these days.
Yeah, that's right. With all these recent large data breaches where there's been so many, people's information taken, and so people really have to stay on their toes about identity theft, the credit card companies have really banded together to try to speed up all of us getting the cards now that have little chips in them. And the chip is just that little gold square on the top, and we have a picture there on the screen that shows you. And, so starting October 1st, when you get a new card, it will always have this on there. Now, folks who have cards in their wallet that don't have this on there, their companies are slowly getting them replaced, and so hopefully they'll get those sooner rather than later. And the other thing that's happening right around October 1st is that most places where you go now shopping are going to have a different type of scanner where you actually slide it in, and it's going to take a little more time. People are going to have to be patient, but it's all to protect us more, because this technology encrypts things, makes each transaction unique, whereas the magnetic strip that's on most of our cards now, apparently scammers, once they get that number, they can kind of go to town, as any of us. I had that happen to me one time when I was here in Nashville for one of these shows. I had someone who got my card number, and we're able to go on a little spending spree. So I think getting transitioned over to this new technology is going to be a great thing for all of us. It's going to take a little bit of time, but when people see that little square, they should know that that's a very good thing, and it's worth any hassle they may have if it takes a little longer at checkout.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up, because because I actually got a new card that had that in it, and I wasn't even aware of it a while back.
Right.
And there were 3 different instances where I did have to use that at the retailer, and they instructed me that I had to use it a different way. I couldn't swipe it the other way.
Yeah.
You had to put it in a different part of the reader. That was all new to me, and I'm glad you're bringing that up tonight, so
well,
our
and
folks know about that.
Right, and the other thing we want to make sure is, this is something now that, the scam artists out there know this is happening too, and so you may get phishing emails or phishing phone calls where they're trying to get you to give your account information, and we really encourage people to be on your toes when you get those kinds of calls or emails. If it's a legitimate call, they're going to know your name, they're going to know your account number, that sort of thing. If it's someone saying dear card holder, real generic, it's probably a scam, and I wouldn't answer the question. Don't answer those questions.
Oh, that's so personal.
Or click on those links.
Yeah, it's so personal. Dear card holder,
Yes.
All right.
The other part to that is it costs companies a lot of money to get the new technology in place. So we need to think about our small agribusiness neighbors and people in rural America that that may be slow getting that new technology, and they'll be more at risk for frauds and scams.
Yep.
Sean, I wanted to ask you in particular, you have maybe some new scams that folks should keep an eye out for as we head into the holiday period here. What's that?
Well, unfortunately, Santa Claus and his elves aren't the only ones working this hard this time of year. Those scammers and cheaters, and they're really working hard to get your personal information as well as your financial information. We have seven common frauds that are out there, these holiday tricks, and we want to just share a little bit about those. So as they all pop up on the screen, I just want to talk a little bit about shopping setups. One popular scheme out there is that there are these rogue websites who promise you great deals and discounts, but also copycat websites where they'll look like legitimate sites, but for you to order your gifts, and you've really got to watch those. And the real get for that is they want your financial information and personal information. Sarah talked about the malware that they'll get placed on there. So clicking on these links is just as bad as giving your personal information online. So you got to be careful about that. And plus those sites that promise you, counterfeit, they're so too good to be true prices.
Right.
And you're lucky you're going to get those. But the idea is click on the link, then they've got you. So you've really got to watch out for those.
Come on, Sean. Now I don't have any hope for that now.
If it's too good to be true, Marlon, it probably
I
is.
know. That's what they say. That's what they say.
Those,
You're right.
those Justin boots aren't $50.
All right, we have our first phone call of the night. And let's go to the phones, and we have Charlie calling in from Arizona. How you doing, Charlie?
Fine, thank you.
All right, what's on your mind?
What my question is tonight is we constantly, whether it be on our cellular phone or the house phone, get these scam calls of people wanting this, wanting that. And how do we get rid of that?
Well, there's some things you can do, Charlie, but it is tough because, there's the do not call list, which I hope you've heard about, and you can sign up for that through your state and through the National Do Not Call Registry. But the problem that I always remind people is that the truth is if a crook wants to steal your money, he doesn't really care if your number is on the do not call list. So that's one thing you can do, and we encourage people to do that because it should cut down on some of those calls. But the other thing that you really need to think about doing too is those calls when you don't recognize the number, don't pick those up, because a lot of times those are computers that are phishing to try to figure out what numbers are real and where a person is actually attached to it. And when you pick up, you're signaling the computer and then the scammers that is a legitimate phone number, and they can try back later again to try to then actually engage you with something. And then finally, I'd say, and Sean may have some additional things to add, but if you end up on the phone with someone, hang up. If you realize that they're trying to get you to do something, I think in the Midwest, I'm from South Dakota, it's hard for us to be rude on the phone or to just hang up. But honestly, that's probably the best thing you can do when someone is trying to engage you in something that you're not interested in. And
if it's not a local number or an 1-800 number, those are pretty two good indicators of if it's out of state, or 809 from the Caribbean. Might be a nice place to vacation, but they'll stick you with high phone bills too. So
absolutely,
watch those guys down the South Seas.
And I actually heard of cases where there was a way that they could get your number to call them, and it turned out to be like an expensive 900 number or something like that.
And I think the courier scams that was on the list, they're bad about that. I mean, they will you'll send you a postcard that get to deliver a package, then you call it, and then once you call it, then they'll stick you with
Exactly,
with a high-priced phone.
Very
All of
good
them.
point. Very good
809
point.
area code. An 809 area code scam is a popular one that's out there.
All right, boy, that brings back bad
And
memories.
one thing we wanted to give folks, because we're
hoping
hoping we're going to hear from a lot of people from all
Yeah.
over the country tonight, we want to give a heads up that we're going to ask them a few questions too. We don't have questions for every caller, but it's a little bit, we want to get everyone involved, and so we're going to do a quiz every now and then throughout the night. So I
you're
think,
full of surprises tonight.
listen
All
up.
right.
'Cause
Look
we'll-
forward
yes,
to that.
Yes.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Let's go to the phones.
Excellent.
And this time we have Barney in Texas. Barney, what's your question?
Hello, hi, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
I have something that happened to me today.
Okay.
What happened to me today was I got a PM message on Facebook, and with that on Facebook, they identified and they showed themselves up as my mother.
Oh. And
with
by
that-
PM, you mean a private message, right?
Yeah.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
You know, that's the grandparent scam.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Well, with that, they informed me that, pretending as my mother, that they were stranded out of town, which she is out of town, but they informed me that she was stranded in California. And that didn't make sense at all, where she's in San Antonio.
Good point.
And
Yeah, how did you handle that there, Barney?
with questions. Why?
Okay.
And they responded by saying that they had their wallet stolen. They didn't respond directly to the question, and that they needed $300 right then and there.
Yeah, that's a
And-
tip right there, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Barney, from a neighbor to the south. You know, that's a case in point of what the grandparent scam is about. Someone calling like it's a grandson, and I need help. I'm in jail. The car broke down. Can you send me money? So they're asking questions, taking that chance, whether they have grandchildren or not, or children. And so the law of percentages works. You're going to call enough people where that's going to resonate. So that's the perfect example of what the grandparent scam is.
And in this case, it's sort of the reverse, because it's the, calling the child to say, so it's a little bit reverse. But it also shows, I think Facebook and social media makes those kinds of things even easier, because as Sean was saying, the grandparent scam, you're sort of fishing to find out whether somebody actually has a grandchild. In this case, a lot of that information would be right there on your Facebook profile. So if you got to be really careful with what you put on social media to make sure that you don't give too much information, and that you have the privacy settings as high up as they can possibly go on your Facebook and any of those social media accounts, so that you can protect yourself. Because anymore, and then if you find out that this has happened, Barney did exactly the right thing. Ask questions and don't take the action. So that was exactly what you should do. But then make sure, then you also, the next step would be to make sure that your mom, Barney, knows that her Facebook account has been hacked, so she can change her password.
Oh, excellent advice. All right, we have Gloria in Tennessee on the line. Gloria, go ahead.
Yes, this is Gloria, and I was calling to let people know that I've been getting calls from the IRS, and I said something to my daughter about it, and she said that the IRS would not call you. They would send you something through the mail. But I've been getting them calls, and I just wanted to let other people know that they've been calling around, and,
And Gloria, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that is something that we've heard a lot of, that's making the rounds all over the country again. And so it's good to know, and you're exactly right. They always, the IRS will always send you information through the mail. They will never call you. So everyone across the country, this is happening all over. You never need to, never respond if it's the IRS calling you. They just won't do it. And we did want to we did want to see if we still have Gloria on the line, if she wanted to answer one of our questions. Do we still have Gloria on the line? Excellent.
All right.
Gloria, are you willing to play with us here a little bit, and I can ask you one of our questions?
yeah.
It's not too hard, I don't think. So the first question we have, so convicted con artists have said that the trick to scamming people, and it doesn't matter what kind of scam it is to get them under the ether. What does that mean? So you have A, tricking you into giving up private info, B, finding ways to trigger your emotions, C, convincing you that they are official or legit, and D, making you think they are someone you know. What do you think, Gloria?
I would say probably D.
That's exactly right. Excellent. Yes, absolutely. And that is, what I think is interesting in the research that we've done at AARP is really that we've learned that it doesn't really matter which scam you're talking about. It could be the grandparent scam. It could be trying to, get you to buy a car or give a whole bunch of money. It is all about getting you into this sort of heightened emotional state where you're going to make bad decisions. And so we all just need to check ourselves. And if we're in a place where we're talking to someone maybe we don't know and we're getting overly excited or really interested in something, just check yourself and make sure that you're not making a decision when you're thinking maybe not quite right.
All right, great questions already.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in, and we encourage you to call in as well. We're going to take a short break, but if you want to join our conversation, just call us. Here's the toll-free number. Jot it down. It's 877-283-7570 or 7570. Give us a call. We'll be back in just a moment.
Tired of repeats? So are we. RFD-TV and its programmers are working hard to bring you fresh shows. Hee Haw is now airing its next season, along with some of your other favorites, like Machinery Pete, The Horse Show, Presley's Country Jubilee, and more. Starting in November, enjoy new shows like Ray Stevens' Nashville, American Harvest, and Rural Delivery. RFD-TV is working hard with Marty Stewart and Molly B to produce all new shows in 2016 to expand and improve programming. Thanks for watching RFD-TV.
Nabbed, booked, locked up. Case closed? You don't know AARP. Because the AARP Fraud Watch Network means everyone can protect themselves and their families from scams and identity theft. With local alerts, tips from law enforcement, and the inside scoop from former con artists. Real possibilities to stay ahead of the bad guys. If you don't think beat con men at their own game when you think AARP, then you don't know AARP. Find more surprising possibilities and get to know us at aarp.org/possibilities.
One historic night of comedy. Two comedy icons together, Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy. RFD-TV presents the We've Been Thinking Tour. Jeff Foxworthy.
You might be a redneck.
Larry the Cable Guy. Coming to Branson, Missouri at RFD-TV The Theater for 2 shows on Wednesday, November 11th. Ticket information at RFD-TV.com. The We've Been Thinking Tour, presented by RFD-TV.
At first, I thought I was just seeing things, but no, it's out there. Something is definitely out there. Whatever it is, it's big. At one point, I swear, we got so close I could smell it. But then, poof, it was gone.
Right.
It exists. The new Honda Pioneer 1000 with a best-in-class engine and 6-speed fully automatic dual-clutch transmission. Pioneer 1000 from Honda.
Welcome back. I'm here with Sean Voskuhl, AARP State Director for Oklahoma, and Sarah Jennings, State Director for AARP in South Dakota. And we want you to join the conversation tonight and give us a call. Toll free, 877-283-7570, and join in the conversation. Let us know how you protect yourself online, or maybe you have an online scam that you can share with us and our viewers as well. Well, we're giving away the AARP Real Pad to callers number 4, number 7, and number 11 tonight, so you don't want to miss out on that. So pick up the phone and give us a call. You could be a winner. All right, Sarah, AARP has a new fraud ambassador who some folks might remember from the movie Catch Me If You Can. That's kind of cool.
It is very cool. So Frank Abagnale, who, again, Leonardo DiCaprio played him in the movie Catch Me If You Can, got so well known because when he was a young, sort of a young adult, he was a pretty amazing con artist, and he posed as a pilot for many years, wrote fraudulent checks, and sort of lived the life of luxury for a while, but then did get caught. And once he was caught, he really has turned his experiences for good and has spent years working with the FBI, and now has agreed to partner up with us on the Fraud Watch Network, which has been exciting. And I think we want to hear directly from Frank on why he's doing it and what he's up to. So let's take a look.
Most people know the teenage me, the Frank Abagnale who impersonated a Pan Am pilot, college professor, a doctor, and a lawyer. The kid that became a con artist, who lived the life on the run, cashed fraudulent checks, and was ultimately played by Leonardo DiCaprio in the hit Hollywood movie. And if you haven't seen Catch Me If You Can or read the book, spoiler alert, I was caught, and my real life began. For For the past 38 years, I've been an advisor to the FBI on financial crimes and con artists. I've dedicated my life to catching them. And now, I've joined forces with the AARP Fraud Watch Network to help you learn how to spot and avoid scams so you can protect yourself and your family.
All right, and it seems that charity scams rise to the top of the list before and during the holidays. Any advice about how to find a good charity out there?
Well, yes, and it's really unfortunate because, you know, at the time where we're trying to give to causes that are near and dear to our heart, you got the con artists out there trying to create false charities that will take our money. And so we really encourage people before you give money, anytime, but especially during the holiday season, to check out those charities at charitynavigator.org. And on there you can find out, check out the place you're planning to give money for, and just make sure it's legit, because whether it's after a disaster or whether it's, you know, helping, you know, animals or any sort of group that you really care a lot about, you want to make sure that if you're giving your hard-earned money to that cause, it really goes to where you want it to go. So charitynavigator.org.
All right, good
You
deal.
know, that's great information, because you can also look at the body of the email towards the bottom and look at the mailing address. If it's post office box or it's a funky address, and see if there's a phone number on there, and do some research and check that out. But you can also find out who owns the website if you go to whois.net. WHOIS.net. So that's another way to kind of, for you to gather more information to determine whether it's a legit site or not.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the phones. We have another caller on the line. We have Billy Ray in North Carolina. And Billy Ray, guess what? You're number 4, so you're a winner. How about that? An AARP Real Pad. How about that?
Confetti?
We do
confetti,
balloons and confetti. And
anyway,
congratulations.
thanks for calling in, Billy Ray. What's on your mind? What's your question?
Well, I was, if you get these scam calls on the, cell phone or landline phone, either one, who should you contact? Your local law enforcement or federal authorities, or?
Well, actually, you can call AARP's Fraud Watch Network. Who we have a great website with information about all the most recent frauds and scams, and people can go on there and report where they're at, and then that alerts people in the area of those frauds and scams that are out there. So we'd really encourage you to go to Fraud Watch Network.
Yep, and the other thing I'd suggest is that often too, like our Attorney General in South Dakota really encourages you to contact our Consumer Protection Fund to let us know, to let them know what's going on as well, because then they can kind of track it and they'll know if something's happening where it's all over the state and they really need to get on it to try to track down. So it does really help them make sure that, you know, they can see what's happening. So reporting it is always a good idea. And, you know, even if you didn't fall for it, just letting them know that you got the call can help someone else by not having them become a victim too.
Yeah, excellent information. And who's going to know unless somebody starts reporting all this?
Exactly.
Yeah. And the more information you're out there and letting other people know, the better off we'll all be. For sure.
All right, good
Quiz time.
information.
Yeah,
good
quiz
information. I appreciate everything that you've been offering.
All right, quiz question.
Uh-oh. All right.
Is Billy Ray still there?
You still there, Billy
Yes.
Ray?
Mhm.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks for hanging in there with
Will
us.
you play a quiz game with us? You can't leave. Stay
I'm going to
on.
make you earn that real pack.
Oh, well. All right. Here we go.
Where is the most dangerous place to use a debit card? Gas stations, restaurants, online shopping, or D, all the above? Which one do you think it will be?
Probably a restaurant.
You're right. I think you said D, all the above. Gas stations, restaurants, online shopping, all of them. So be really careful about that, and it's important. You really have more liability protections using a credit card than you do a debit card.
Absolutely. That was the #1 tip that Frank Abagnale, he was in South Dakota recently as part of this ambassador program, and he talked about the fact that using a credit card is actually the safest way you can make purchases because you're always protected.
Really?
Yep.
Explain
Is
that.
it $50?
Yeah, well, and I don't know the limits, but the credit card, that's just the way it's set up so that you you aren't going to be liable for the fraudulent purchases. The credit card company will be. Although with this new card chip technology, there's going to be a little bit of a shift in liability potentially between the credit card company and the point of sale, depending on who has the technology. But we as consumers shouldn't need to worry too much about that. We got to, you know, but using a credit card is always safer than a debit card.
Excellent. All right, we go back to the phones. We have Donna calling in from Nebraska. How you doing, Donna? Thanks for calling. What's your question?
Yeah, I was scammed here a while back. For about a month at a time, the same man kept calling about contests, and I won this, and I won that. My question was, have you heard of green dot cards at Walmart? That's one of their gimmicks, and they try to get your credit card. And I kept getting a call on this. I called the police on it and everything in the Attorney General's office, and because the guy just kept calling me and calling me.
Right.
And he was going to meet me at Walmart.
And
he said he wasn't too far from my home. He knew where I was and everything like that, which kind of scared me.
So that's not only a phone call, that's a personal visit being worked in there too.
Yeah. Well, and I do think we hear, a lot of red
Mm-hmm.
flags there, Donna, and I think I assume you did the right thing and didn't end up going to Walmart. But the Green Dot card, I mean, we hear a lot of those scams where someone is trying to get you to buy a gift card, and they'll have the number, and they're going to say that they're going to give you something in return by putting money onto that card. But then what happens is when you go to actually use the card, the money's been taken by the scammer. So you were right to have your antenna up that was not legitimate, because it wasn't. And so, but again, you had this person kept calling you, and part of it was they, were able to get you on the phone. So it was great. At some point, you must have gotten them able to stop by just hanging up and not engaging anymore. And again, that's the other advice we give to folks is really, if you end up on the phone with these people and you can tell that they're trying to get you to do, to give out your credit card or your banking account number or any other personal information, just hang up the phone. And we've joked that you can do some funny, if you feel a little rude doing it, you can always think of a funny way to get off the phone, like kiss my grits from the Alice, or something like that. So if that makes you feel better, I heard one woman, I know, or one woman used a whistle, had a whistle. So, if it sort of makes you feel uncomfortable, make it into a game, because we're all getting those calls. So we all need to be able to get off the phone.
Yeah, I had somebody just say they just lay the phone down on the nightstand and walk away.
Yeah.
Just let them wait.
Yes, that works too.
Anyway, okay, well, let's go back to the phones. We have Mary in Minnesota calling in. Hey, Mary, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi. Okay. First, the lady that, I think it was Gloria, that mentioned the IRS scam, so that was the other one I was going to mention. They called me last week. They called me 4 times in one day, and the same number showed up on my caller ID, but they said it was a recorded message, and it said that the IRS had filed a lawsuit against me, and then it said to call this other number. So the first time I called it, and some guy answered, he said the Internal Revenue Service, but he sounded really, really, really foreign. He could have been who knows where.
Yeah, there you go.
That's another tip, yeah.
And then I called our state's attorney's office.
Excellent.
Yeah, and they told me that was a scam going around, and they gave me a number to call to report these scams, and also the phone today. The phone company gave me another number to call to report these scams. So if people call their state's attorney's office, they can find out a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
But also, last summer, in an area here, we had several kind of bad hailstorms.
Disasters,
Yeah.
scams after
Yeah.
disasters.
And then you have contracts sort of running amok around town, don't you, Mary?
What?
You have contractors coming and offering sort of shoddy services. Is that kind of what happened? Because we had the hailstorm. I live down in South Dakota, so we had probably some of that hailstorm, and it was people offering not great work for a cheap price, or they would come, you'd pay them, and they wouldn't even finish the job. So we had to do a lot of sort of educating and trying to figure out how do you really make sure that you're getting the work that you need done on your home and for a price that's reasonable.
Make sure they're registered.
Exactly.
They're registered to check the bid.
What the guy said they told me, there were several different ones, and they said, you may have seen our sign in your neighbor's yard. We just come from your neighbors. Well, there was nobody around my neighbors anytime.
Right.
And then they said they were roofing. They wanted to climb on my roof, and for free they wanted to inspect the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And my husband used to work for a roofing company, and he kind of knew the trick. They carry a tool.
Right.
If they do climb on the roof, they will punch a hole in the roof and say, hey, you need a new roof.
And then you will need a new roof, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, they'll probably want you to pay money up front.
Yeah.
To get them by, get them going. They probably.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling.
Anytime there's a disaster like that, and just like you said, that's very common from several different angles, isn't it?
The IRS scam, again, that just another example of how it hits so many people. And, last week, I got caught with one of those courier scams.
Oh, did
people who are getting emails from FedEx, from DHL, from UPS saying, we've got a package delivered to you. Please click on this link. And I almost clicked on it. It was from DHL. And I thought, oh, well, I wonder who sent me a package.
Right.
And then I looked at the address, and it came from John from someplace, and it just looked suspicious. And then I saw, well, this is one of these courier scams that they send out thinking they're going to deliver a package to you. So be careful for those as well.
Yeah, it's happening to all of us.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, and boy, there's a lot of angles that comes into play, and I've seen that myself several times. You have to be on the watch out, that's for sure. All right, we have Michelle on the line. She's on the phone with another question, and Michelle, I believe you happen to be a winner.
Yay, more
How about
balloons
that?
and confetti.
Thanks for calling in. Glad to have you with us as caller number 7 here. Congratulations.
Well, yay! All right.
So what's your question for our panel tonight?
Okay, we had an incident where a young man got a phone call, and it didn't say it was from out of country. You know, sometimes it'll, on your cell phone, it'll say what area it's coming from, and it was like Georgia or something like that. Well, they was trying to sell him or give him money is what it was. And he listened to the pitch, which was almost 15 minutes long. And finally he decided, well, I'm not, they gave him a confirmation number and all this kind of stuff and a website to go to. Well, he figured out it was a scam pretty quickly. But he got off the phone, and in turn, now this was what really caught us, we got a phone bill with a third-party service of a long-distance phone call from him to them in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
Back to the...
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
The phone scams.
You've heard of that?
Oh, well, we had never heard of that.
Yeah.
And we called AT&T. It was through AT&T, and it had that third-party service on there. And we kind of had to pitch a fit to get them to take it off. Because it was, we had to really argue the point that we did not call them.
Right.
They called us.
Right. Oh, she's done a great job. Thank you.
Thanks for being proactive.
Well, yeah, and I think that gets back to the, if you don't know the person that you're calling and you start to sense it's a scam, hang up as quickly as you can. And I think we also wanted to see if Michaela would do a quiz with us. Am I right?
You still
Are we
there,
back
Michelle?
to quiz?
Oh, cool. Okay.
All right, hang on there.
Although maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I thought we had a quiz question, but maybe you're off the hook. Okay, you might be off the hook. All right, here we go.
Here it is.
All right, what's the first thing you should do to protect yourself when your wallet gets stolen? A, report it to the police and ask for a copy of the police report. B, place a fraud alert or credit freeze on your credit report. C, monitor your accounts closely. Or D, order a new card. So what do you think, Michaela?
I would say C.
C.
Wouldn't you cancel?
Or D, yes. Well, and actually it's A, but the truth is everything on that screen we want to do, so it's a little bit of a trick question. But first thing, you really should report it to the police and get a copy of the police report because that's going to help you down the road as you sort this out if people do try to use your cards or those sorts of things. But then, as you said, it's all the rest of that too. You got to monitor your reports after it's done, and you got to look at some of the other things that was on that screen as well. So thanks so much, and congratulations on your real pad.
How about that? Congratulations. Good stuff. All right, we have Diane calling in, I believe. What's on your mind tonight? You still there? Did we lose you?
Diane?
All right, maybe we lost the call. Anyway, all right, so we'll move on. So anyway, you were talking about the pointers that you had for if you lost your wallet, and that is something that, unfortunately, I had to go through that too, and you had to notify the credit bureaus for one thing to let them know that there could potentially be fraud on that card and be on the alert for it.
Absolutely, and call your credit card company immediately too to cancel the card and order a new one. And one thing with that I think some people learn the hard way is often you just you have your 800 number that you need to call to cancel your credit card, which is on the back of your credit card. That's now stolen. So you need to try to remember to have those numbers someplace else so that if you are in that situation, you can call them pretty quickly and get them, and get that taken care of. So there's a lot of stuff. The easiest thing is for all of us to keep track of our wallets, but it happens to the best of us that it that, that happens. And, even if it's just lost, temporarily misplaced, you're better off to go ahead and cancel everything and take all those steps. Because even if you find it later, on the off chance that it had been stolen and somebody was trying to use your cards, it's better to have to kind of undo trying to protect yourself than it is doing the reverse down the road.
Now, is that technically what they call a fraud alert that you put through the credit bureaus in?
Yes, yes. I mean, I think you let them all know that it's gone on. And again, your credit card company, the moment you let them know, will stop your card. And and if there's already been some charges happening, that you won't be liable for those. You'll just need to, So usually your credit card company will handle it. But it's also smart to go ahead and tell the the credit bureaus as well, just so that they're aware that you're keeping an eye on things.
Well, it's much easier to do it then than 6 months or a year later and have to try and get it all back. You're right.
Or you could be liable.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, well, let's go back to the phones. We have Luann in Utah. What's on your mind?
Hi, my name is Luann. I am from Utah. It's really nice to talk to you guys. I love this channel.
Oh, great. Thanks for calling in.
I was calling in about, I worked for IRS for quite a few years. And, there can be some misconceptions somewhat of getting calls from IRS. You can get a call from IRS, but it's usually when you have gotten a letter from them, then you have answered the letter, and then a lot of times they will call you, because I've called a lot of people. And a lot of times when people hear IRS on the phone, it scares them.
Right. Yeah, and Luann, that's great clarification. Yep, I think that's a great clarification. So know that if you get the IRS calling, but it's the first time you've heard from them, that's going to be a scam. However, if you're going back and forth with the IRS to try to get an issue resolved, that's a great point, Luann, that the IRS could legitimately call you there to keep working through your issue. So thanks for that.
All right, good information, Luann. Thanks for the heads up. Appreciate that a lot, calling in from Utah. But we're going to take a short break, and we want you to join the conversation as well. Had some excellent questions already. And we still have a real pad to give away, too, so don't forget about that. Call us toll-free at 877-283-7570. We'll be right back in just a couple of moments.
Nabbed, booked, locked up. Case closed? You don't know AARP. Because the AARP Fraud Watch Network means everyone can protect themselves and their families from scams and identity theft. With local alerts, tips from law enforcement, and the inside scoop from former con artists. Real possibilities to stay ahead of the bad guys. If you don't think beat con men at their own game when you think AARP, then you don't know AARP. Find more surprising possibilities and get to know us at aarp.org/possibilities.
If you've been looking for love in all the wrong places, start over with Our Time, the best and largest dating site to find single women over 50. Dating your age has never been better or more exciting. Start today for free. It's time for Our Time.
The average American will work around 1,700 hours this year. But you're not average.
Henry Repeating Arms is a family-owned business. My family has been in the gun business since 1911.
At Henry, we take great pride in sourcing American-made materials.
Like gun barrel quality steel from Ohio, extruded steel and brass castings from Pittsburgh, the finest American walnut from Missouri, and deliver an American-made rifle that you would be proud to own.
And that's the vow of Henry, they'll be made in America.
But it won't be made at all. And you gotta love something that's made in America.
This is the best rifle I've ever owned.
Call now for a free Henry catalog and decal, including a list of dealers in your area, so you can own your own piece of American history. Call or log on now.
Henry.
Welcome back. We still have a real pad to give away, so we're going to go straight to the phones as soon as we can. So make sure you call in and be a part of the discussion. The number to call, 877-283-7570 if you want to be a part of the conversation. We're talking about holiday fraud and that sort of thing. Man, we've had a lot of good pointers brought up already from our callers.
I know,
here.
and what I love is that you hear these people across the country sharing their experience and their tips on how to avoid it straight from things that have been happening. So while we love to share information, and that's part of what the Fraud Watch Network is all about, there's a lot of great resources. If you're somebody who's comfortable going on the internet, check out fraudwatchnetwork.org or aarp.org/RFD. A lot of the information's there, but there's a lot of great information about how you can protect yourself and your family there. So we love sharing the information, but it's even better when we're hearing it from people all across the country who, all of us are getting targeted by these con artists, and it's great to hear so many people are doing exactly the right thing and not becoming a victim.
And especially when you get closer to the holidays.
Absolutely.
It's almost like harvest season for the scammers.
Yeah, that's a good way, yes.
Well,
yeah,
it is. In a way,
Weeks dry. It's at 14. Let's get out there.
Well, they know there's more money floating around,
that's absolutely
and it just
right.
makes them more active. I know.
Yes.
All right, let's go back to the phones. We have Kenneth calling in from Illinois. Kenneth, thanks for calling in. What's your question?
I was just really not a question.
Okay.
I was just stating on what had happened to me.
Oh, okay.
And with a banking deal that we have been with for over 40 years, and we got a phone call saying that something to do with our credit line, or we have an overdraw system on our account, and needed to call this number to verify something. And the person that called was of kind of a foreign accent. So since we've dealt with this bank for over 40 years, I took our own personal number and called one of their branches. It's a St. Louis branch, headquartered bank. And I called a Jerseyville, Illinois branch that I've done banking with. And they told me, says, don't do it. It's a scam.
Yeah.
So I called the Greene County Sheriff Department and told them of the numbers that I had that was given to me. And the second time it happened, something like 6 months later, I called it again and called Jersey County Sheriff Department and so far I haven't got anything from them. But they told me, the bank told me they would never contact me by phone without sending me a registered letter or something of that deal. So being a senior citizen, which I am, you have to really be on top of it and double check everything that you do.
You did a great job.
Yeah, you did exactly the right thing, and I think that also just, it is talking about, you did that where if you have a question at all, go find your own number and proactively call them back. So that was exactly the right, and I'm not sure we've talked about that tonight, but if there's ever a question about someone calling you, generally you never want to give out your personal information if someone has called you. But if you initiate the call to your bank or to somebody that you already do business with and they need some of that information, then you can, consider giving it. But that was exactly the right thing to do, Kenneth, and thanks for sharing with everyone across the country.
Thanks for all that information. That's hopefully going to help somebody else out there that's viewing or listening tonight. So thanks a bunch. Let's go back to the phones. We have Rosalie calling in from Arkansas tonight. Rosalie, thank you for calling in. What's your question or comment for our panel?
Okay, I have a question, please. I've heard a lot about electronic pickpocketing and also about wallets or sleeves that you can buy to put your credit card in. And I've heard that people can just walk by you and get your information, and you don't even know they've done it. They can do it without you removing it from your wallet or your purse. And I wanted to know if that was true and if the sleeves really work.
That's a good question. We do know a lot about scams with gift cards and people scanning the codes, when people go buy gift cards that are unattended. And we also know that these scanning devices that crooks have, are really good about getting that information, whether it's close or far away. And so I don't doubt that they can do that. I'm just not sure if I can endorse a certain product without knowing enough information, whether it is, unless, Sarah, you've got a little more information.
Well, I just know that we had some Fraud Watch Network sleeves that did protect. So, I mean, I think that, but what Sean's saying is right. You need to make sure that whatever you get has the right materials that will protect it from getting scammed. But, you know, as always, because you could always get, somebody might try to sell you something that has a little sleeve on it. It's not going to do a lick of good. So, and weren't you going to?
Well, and my neighbor to the east, would you participate in our quiz contest? Are you still on?
You still there, Rosalie?
I am. Great. Well, there you go. And we can, you can contact the AARP Arkansas office too, and they can help track that down for you as well. Are you ready for your quiz question?
Sure.
What makes a person more vulnerable to fraud? A, their behaviors. B, negative life events, like losing a job or feeling lonely, losing money. Or C, both. Or D, neither.
Both.
Ding, 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 ding. I know she's smart. She's done good.
We have smart viewers here.
We do have smart viewers
hey,
on RFD.
Thanks for participating. And so that's some good information. You know, it's that ether that you talked about earlier.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, all right. Well, we have
Don't
one
sniff
more.
the ether?
Yeah, exactly.
That's another show.
Well, we have another caller on the line waiting patiently, and thanks for calling in. This time we have Nancy in South Dakota, and guess what? You are a winner. Thanks for calling in. You're the winner of a
my
Real
home
Pad.
state.
Yeah, how about that?
That's fantastic.
That's more than coincidence.
Come on.
No, it really is. It's excellent to have you call in. Thank you. I appreciate that. Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, are you still there?
I am.
All right. I just wondered what part of South Dakota you were calling in from.
Watertown.
Ah, excellent. All right. Well, thanks for calling into the show tonight. Appreciate that. So do you have a question or a comment for our panel?
I wanted to ask you about a call I get almost every day, every other day. It says that, congratulations, you have won a Caribbean cruise. And I know I don't say a word, I hang up, but I'm sure they want my credit card number, and I'm sure it isn't free. And I don't know how to get rid of those calls. I have an old call number, and they still get them.
You know, and that's, again, for the holidays, these too good to be true vacation offerings that you just know there's no way you can do those. And unfortunately, this is the time of year. The weather's getting colder for a lot of us, and thinking about taking vacations to sunny beaches is another top fraud that's out there. Again, just encourage her to call her State Attorney General's office, her local law enforcement, and also report that through our AARP's Fraud Watch Network.
Absolutely.
So we can keep other people alerted to this fraud that's out there and affecting a lot of people. And just don't answer your phone.
That's right. And Nancy, congratulations on the Real Pad, and I'm hoping that you'll also play our little quiz game. I think this might be our last quiz of the night, and I'm hoping for South Dakota to really represent here. So are you still there, Nancy?
I am.
Okay, so my question for you is, what is the best way to protect your Social Security number? And we've got some options. A, don't carry your Social Security card in your wallet. B, never reveal your Social Security number over the phone. C, when asked for your Social Security number on some forms, leave it blank. Or D, all of the above. What do you think,
All
Nancy?
of the above.
That's right, all of the above.
There you go.
Yes. So, and thank you for that. And again, congratulations on the Real Pad. And for all of our Real Pad winners tonight, we want to make sure folks know that you'll be getting a call from Tara from the AARP team in the next couple of days, and she'll make sure that she gets the information to get the Real Pad sent off to you. So we'll make sure that happens, and Tara will get caught back to you. Thanks.
Excellent stuff. Boy, we have some good questions. They're smart, right?
Yeah. Oh, and one thing, and the other is that in terms of the Social Security question, I answered a little bit, but we actually have a special guest who's going to give an even more complete answer. So let's check in with him.
Okay.
Your Social Security number is very valuable to con artists. It's one of the quickest and most common ways for them to steal your identity and your money. So protect it like it's gold. Keep your Social Security card in a safe place, and never reveal your number to anyone that you don't absolutely trust, either in person, over the phone, or on non-official forms. Just keep in mind that your Social Security number is required on forms related to taxes and federal loans, by employers, banks, and lenders, by government programs, and for stock and property transactions. But if anyone else requests your Social Security number, ask if you can provide an alternative number, such as your birth date or zip code or a portion of your driver's license. Keep your Social Security number under guard unless it's absolutely required.
And AARP is always doing something around the country to help folks fight fraud. So what have they been up to lately anyway?
Well, we are, because this is information we're trying to get out all over the place, and we have state offices in every state across the country. Sure. And so in North Dakota recently, we're always looking for volunteers who will help us get the word out about Fraud Watch Network and ways everybody can protect themselves. So North Dakota recently held a training, and where you can see there on the screen, folks, volunteers from all over North Dakota getting trained about what they can do to get involved with the Fraud Watch Network. So we really would encourage people across the country who may be listening to this and might have interest in getting involved to contact their state office and ask if there's Fraud Watch Network activities going on near them, and if so, how could they get involved? And we also, one out of this training, there was one thing that I think is really special about our volunteers at AARP is that everyone gets involved for different reasons, and lots of times it's very personal. And I think we have a little bit of a story from one of our volunteers up in North Dakota who talks about why he got involved with the Fraud Watch Network. So let's take a look.
My wife and I had experienced an identity theft a few years ago having to do with our cell phone, and I saw all the problems that created. Even though we did not have a financial loss, there was a lot of items that needed to be checked just to see how far this identity theft had gone. Some changes that we've made in our lifestyle, and some changes in bank accounts and so on to prevent something like this happening in the future. I think in working with the tax aid program, I saw that there's a lot of seniors that could be very vulnerable to these types of attacks of their identity, of their investments, and so on. And if I can just do a small part in preventing some of that, that's what I'm looking to do.
And you know what I think is really special about how Don got involved is that he wasn't afraid to talk about how he was victimized and to talk about the struggles that he has. Right. Because I think something that we also try to talk about, when we're talking about Fraud Watch Network across the country is just ensuring that there's no shame in becoming a victim on some of this stuff. We always want to make sure people, have the tools so they can avoid that. But these scammers are so smart, they're so relentless, and they're targeting everybody that if you do become a victim, there's no shame. You absolutely need to report it. And if you're willing to share your story, that's great too. We also had some great activity up in Minnesota, right over from North Dakota, where we had more, it was sort of a scam jam where they were sharing different information and having lots of people, full house there in Minnesota where they were all learning different things, tools and ways they could protect themselves. So we're very proud of the work that we're doing across the states, all over this great country to do and to try to share information about Fraud Watch Network.
Scam jam, is that something they've done before?
We tried, yeah.
That's a clever name, I like that.
Well, yes, and it makes it sound a lot more fun too, right? Than going learn. But well, we try to have fun when we're doing our AARP stuff too. But yeah.
Well, Sean, I understand that you've had some stuff going on in Texas too.
You
with
bet.
The AARP
down
group.
south, I think AARP Texas has done a great job teaching folks online how to be cyber savvy.
Oh, okay.
And how to protect yourself online. And I think these photos show several of those events around Texas. And knowledge is power. And the more you know, it's really about. The more you know, the safer you'll be online. So it's great they're providing that service to many folks in Texas.
Yeah.
All right. And now, do you have some information as well about some New England states and some things that have
we're
been
going
taking
across the
place there?
country. We're going across the country.
I remember hearing about that. So what's that about?
A great event. It was a really great event for the Northeast states, the 6 states in the Northeast, where they came together with their state attorney generals, AARP's chief advocacy and campaign officer Nancy Lamont, who's our boss's boss.
That's right.
And they participate in a reverse boiler room.
Oh.
And what's great about that is they're calling seniors and people at risk for frauds and scams and letting them know about tips and how to protect themselves from identity theft. And so here's a closer look of that great event in the Northeast that crossed state lines.
That's right.
Today, 21st century technology has offered con artists a whole new array of ways and means to perpetrate fraud and scams on Americans of all ages. AARP Fraud Watch Network staff and volunteers from the 6 New England states and New York are going to be operating their own telemarketing boiler room, what we're going to call the reverse boiler room. But instead of hearing from crooks and con artists, residents throughout the region are going to receive tips and information on how to protect themselves from 2 very prevalent scams, IRS and tech support.
Each day, our offices hear from individuals who've been the target of scams or attempted scams or attempts to steal personal information. Unfortunately, we see how disproportionately so many of these scams and fraud attempts target older adults.
Our state offices and our dedicated volunteers have focused on developing strategic relationships with state attorneys general, local law enforcement, and others, such as the Better Business Bureaus and consumer affairs agencies, in order to conduct activity like teletown halls, direct mail to drive awareness, collecting fraud stories, and document shredding events from coast to coast.
Boy, good stuff. We have just a few minutes left, and I want to get your final thoughts about the program tonight. I wish we could talk longer. I could talk all day about this. But one thing that came to mind as I was watching all this stuff was the fact that I've had numerous instances just lately on Craigslist. And I thought I would point that out because, boy, there are a lot of scammers on Craigslist, too.
That's right.
Anyway, with that, I'll throw it into your court. And, Sean, what's your final thoughts here?
Well, I think also we talked a lot of frauds and scams that are out there and have been out there. But also remember, today is the first day of open enrollment for Medicare.
That's right.
It runs from today, October 15th, through December 7th. So, unfortunately, there'll be Medicare scams that are out there, people that will say they need to issue new Medicare cards or they need payment on some Medicare services. And just remember, Medicare will never call and ask for personal information. They will not email you or visit your home unannounced or without your knowledge. And really, why would they do that when they already have that data already in their hands? So just remember potential for Medicare scams and follow the same rules, kind of like the IRS.
That's right. That's right.
What about you, Sarah?
Well, the scam that they mentioned in that last clip also was the online tech support, and that's another one we didn't touch on tonight. But really, if you get an email telling you that you have a problem with your computer, generally ignore those. Microsoft isn't going to send you an email saying that they need to get control of your computer to fix something. You will know if you have a problem with your computer. At least I would generally know if I'm having a problem with my computer. So that's another very common. They look really official. It looks like Microsoft is trying to contact you, but again, that's one that you really just need to avoid. Don't click on any of those links. And in my really parting comments are just that we really hope that folks will look at the Fraud Watch Network. There's ways you can get involved. One, simply by signing up to get our email alerts, and that we really just try to get people the information about scams happening in your area in real time so that you can protect yourself and your family. So that's one way to get involved. And the other way is to volunteer. If this is something where you feel passionate about helping to protect other people, we would love to get you involved at the state office level. So contact your state office and we'll get you signed up, but we'll make sure it works in a time frame that works for you.
All right. Well, Sean, Sarah, I really enjoyed having you on the show. We're about out of time. We need to wrap things up. But boy, I was really impressed.
And you did a fantastic job.
But I was really impressed with our callers. They brought up some great points.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, thanks to all of our callers for calling in. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you all being proactive too, right?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And that really, I think, was the message from a lot of the callers, right? Is that you got to be proactive. You sort of need to take control of these situations on your own. Hang up. Don't click on those links. Don't give out your personal information.
We shared a lot of common frauds and scams, so hopefully the viewers and listeners can be aware and protect themselves.
You bet. We can help each other out. All right. Well, make sure to join us next month, November 19th, as we take a look at a closer look at Social Security. Well, thanks for joining us, and see you next time right here on Rural America Live with AARP.